as we forge a path towards financial freedom and a brighter tomorrow for our youth. Metropolitan Collective Shapers, empowering dreams, one step at a time. You and Metropolitan, together we can.
Whoa.
In a country where the youth face unprecedented challenges, Metropolitan Collective Shapers stands as a beacon of hope. Born in the heart of Metropolitan, MCS is our answer to the rising tide of youth unemployment. By nurturing young entrepreneurs, we empower them to scale their businesses and open doors to new markets, creating future leaders and employers. Our customers share our vision. By choosing our funeral and life cover products, you protect what you cherish most while contributing to a greater cause. A portion of every policy sold goes directly into funding the MCS program, beyond the efforts of the MMH Foundation. Together, we are not just protecting our clients' financial dreams, we are also building futures for youth entrepreneurs. From Polokwane to Tshwane, our journey continues to KwaZulu-Natal. Here, our focus turns to agriculture, seeking individuals with a relentless spirit, those who strive not just for a personal success, but for the upliftment of their families and communities. Join us in this collective mission. With every step we take together, Sihamba Sonke, as we forge a path towards financial freedom and a brighter tomorrow for our youth. Metropolitan Collective Shapers, empowering dreams, one step at a time. You and Metropolitan, together we can.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Metropolitan Collective Shapers Masterclass. Thanks to everyone who's logged on right now and joining us virtually as we are about to gather here and bring the power of the collective together, where we're talking entrepreneurship all the way. My name is Nkosinathi Mahlangu, and I will be with you throughout the process of today. And this masterclass is brought to you by Metropolitan. And when it comes to collective shapers, we know that Metropolitan is empowering young entrepreneurs through programs that will give them technical skills and all the practical know-how to help them run their businesses sustainably. And we cannot do this alone as Metropolitan, as we know that our valued clients who have the funeral and life cover, they also play a role in making this initiative very much possible. Well, when it comes to our social media platforms, that's where we would like to encourage you to follow us, and you can find Metropolitan on Facebook and on LinkedIn. We are at Metropolitan ZA on X, formerly known as Twitter, and we are at Metropolitan_ZA on Instagram. We do encourage you to follow us on those platforms if you haven't followed us already. And we do have some fantastic giveaways for people who will be interacting with us on this very same platform where you can conversate with us, engage with us, ask questions, give us comments, and we will be giving away 5 gigabytes of data, as we know that data definitely goes a long way. And this masterclass is definitely where we will be having subject matter experts who will be talking about how to navigate this maze of entrepreneurship. Well, without any further ado, I would like to call upon Chief Marketing Officer, Metropolitan, just to give us, the purpose of this initiative and give us the client value proposition when it comes to Metropolitan Collective Shapers. Let us give a warm virtual welcome and a Collective Shapers welcome to Lindiwe Gumede. Welcome, Lindiwe.
Thank you, Nati. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And of course, good morning to the people that are online. And thank you for taking this opportunity to join us on such a prestigious day as we get to live our purpose, not only from a company perspective, but also as an individual as well. I get to live my purpose through these kind of initiatives where it's all about imparting knowledge that can make a positive impact in our youth today, so they're able to empower their people as well as their communities. So I'm sure everyone is wondering, we keep talking about this collective shaper. So who is this collective shaper? Our collective shaper is a person who's actually an entrepreneur at heart, a person who has the spirit of a kasipreneur, a person who has the mindset and the self-belief of a business tycoon or a mogul, if you want. This person always looks for opportunities. They spot the gap, they find it, they act on it, and they make sure that they create opportunities, not just for themselves or their families, but also for others. They are opportunistics, and they're never without a plan. They're quite resilient. I mean, the space of being an entrepreneur is quite hard. It can get lonely, especially when you don't have the knowledge. But these people that we're talking about, the collective shapers, they are really resilient. They don't see dead ends. They have the mindset of pusha, pressa, panda. Ungapheli umoya, especially when things get tough. If it doesn't exist, they innovate, they create it, they build it up, and they make space for more. They have always been told, vuga uzenzele, but something in them says, I'll do it for me, and I'll do it for my community, nabantu bami. These people are the makers and shapers of our community. In this year's iteration of our youth empowerment program, we've continued to foster an anchor behind what the brand stands for, which is collectivism. So we say to you today, in our communities that we serve, we're in it together. We are walking this journey side by side as Metropolitan, your financial companion, who is saying, let's make a difference in this journey and empower the youth that we serve. Not only does the funeral cover or even your life policies that you take up with us protect your families, but in this way, you're able to lend a helping hand to our youth entrepreneurs by uplifting them and contributing to programs like the Metropolitan Collective Shapers. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. It takes a collective to make this happen. And we want to thank all of you that has been able to come and progress with us in this journey to making sure that we can attain everything that we want for our youth, one step at a time. As you know, this is our third installment of Metropolitan Collective Shapers. We started in Polokwane and Tshwane, and we had lots of learnings that gave us a clear direction of what the Metropolitan Collective Shapers program needs to address. First and foremost, it meant we needed to talk to how we can deliver scalable skills, but not only for the people who join the program, but also be able to give it to other people who are beyond just KwaZulu-Natal, as in this case. So that's why we are now leveraging the digital platforms to bring to you skills that are on the soft side and skills that are on the technical side. And that way, we're able to reach more people and empower more youth entrepreneurs out there. That's why today I'm super excited of the speakers that you're going to interact with today. They both from the private sector as well as the public sector that we've partnered with to come and share some nuggets as well as some key skills that you need to foster your business. More than anything, what I'm super excited about this plan is how we've made an impact in some of the previous entrepreneurs that we've taken on this journey. Through robust mentorship, coaching, we've seen meaningful change in our young entrepreneurs' businesses. They've been able to have market access. You'll hear about a story from Benjamin. It's even online where he's actually been able to even export some of their produce, being pepper juice in this case. He's even able to supply the likes of Woolworths through the skills and the knowledge that he gained from this very program. Isn't that impactful? Last but not least, I'm super inspired, and I hope you are also inspired by being able to add to this positive growth. And it really takes one policy at a time to empower the youth entrepreneurs. In turn, they empower their families through the growth of their business, and in turn, it's the collective community. And we are super proud and would like to thank you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lindiwe. And coming to realize that Collective Shapers has been existing for over 3 years now. It all started in Polokwane, moved to Tshwane, and KZN. This is where Metropolitan Collective Shapers is at for 2024. And we're looking forward to wonderful, accomplishments by all our entrepreneurs that are part and parcel of this collective movement. And it's good to know that our clients are also playing a pivotal role in making sure that through their funeral and life cover, this initiative definitely goes the distance. And congratulations to everyone who has been collectively associated with Collective Shapers, as we know that Sihamba Sonke. And speaking about entrepreneurship, obviously we know that market access is one key factor that makes things possible. And to give us a bit of insights and to take us through the market access journey, it's none other than Untutugo Shezi, who is a electromechanical engineer and a former strategy consultant at Accenture. He is an expert in business strategy, business planning and business model generation. Born in rural Ndwedwe in KwaZulu-Natal, his latest venture, Livestock Wealth, is a simple method of investing in farming. It presents new investment opportunities for South African market where you invest your money in agricultural assets as they grow on a farm rather than, unit trusts and shares. Well, ladies and gentlemen, through a web and a mobile application, potential investors can buy vegetable tunnels. They can buy vegetable tunnel gardens. They can also do the macadamia trees. They can also be in the orchards, such as cows online. Who would have thought that I would be a farmer having a cow online? That is Livestock Wealth. But to give us more about this, let us give a warm welcome to the Shezi, Tutugo Shezi, who is actually looking snazzy today. I think, for a farmer, my brother, you have up the note. Thank you so much. Market access, all about that.
Thank you very much.
That's yours.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for having me. Is my presentation up? Okay. Okay. Okay, it's not showing on this screen here. 100%. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ntuthuko Shezi, but everyone just simply calls me Shezi. I think it's just easier on the palate, Shezi than Ntuthuko. But I always say I don't complain, because if people say Obama or Bush or Mbeki, you know which one they're talking about. so that's how I roll as well on that one. Thank you so much to Metropolitan for having me today. Really fantastic work that Lindy and your team have done, and furthering from KZN and the work you guys have been doing in KZN. I was seeing it everywhere in the news, everywhere I go. I was like, everywhere. I was like, okay, you guys are doing great work, so keep at it, and very, very impressive. So I titled today's talk, Breaking and Entering. For those of you who watch TV, I used to watch lots of TV in the past. Breaking and entering is a crime in KZN. In South Africa, we call it housebreaking. But Americans always have to be very twangy and different. So breaking and entering is actually housebreaking, when you go into someone's house without their permission and going in to get whatever you want. So I've titled today's talk, Breaking and Entering, again in that same spirit of saying, in an environment where perhaps you are not easily welcome, especially in the South African context of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship in South Africa is not the easiest. It's not pop and place. So as entrepreneurs, you've got to find a way to get in. And if you don't find the way to get in, sadly you will stay outside and you will only eat pap. That's how it would end. Okay, then. There we go. Okay, so I've got some few photos of myself in terms of how I've been able to break into different environments. You see there me on the cattle truck with a whole lot of cows. So we got into the livestock business. We also seen in the other screen into the macadamia business. For those of you who don't know, until recently, and I believe also in the future, Grant, you'll agree with me, macadamia is still one of the highest grossing plants you can plant per hectare. And yes, there's been some few price corrections, as they're supposed to be in everything else. But one of the main things there is that everyone who wants to participate in macadamia farming, and because the tree takes 6 years to produce its first full harvest, you need to have 6 years of money lying around for you to actually be part of this opportunity. It means that you need to plant today. Before planting, you need to prepare the land, plant, hire staff, fertilize for 6 full years. It's almost like working for 6 years without a salary, which most people wouldn't sign up to that. So as a macadamia farmer, for you to get in and really be part of the chain, you've got to survive that. So then we figured at Livestock saying, okay, for farmers to be able to do this thing, unless they're born into a very royal family line, it will be hard. So we said, okay, we'll find a way as a crowd, which is you and me and everyone else, we will own these trees on the farm. The farmer will plant, and then we'll buy the trees that are on his farm and own them as they grow. And then 6 years later, when the farmer is now almost harvesting or doing his first harvest, he can then say, okay, thank you guys, and buy the trees back from us at a profit. And then in that way, he's been able to get his foot in the door, and he's been able to have that 6 years of money to fertilize the trees, put irrigation, do all these things that he couldn't be able to do. So that's what we did there. We then also ventured into the meat business in terms of grass-fed, free-range beef. We delivering from house to house. Again, still on the same theme of breaking and entering. When to supply the big chains, they want strong volumes. A store like a ShopRite, you can't say, okay, I'm going to supply today, and then you disappear for 4 weeks, and then you come back again. It doesn't work like that. They want consistency. So we figured, okay, we're not at that scale yet. We can't supply 200 cows a day. We don't have that muscle. But if we go directly to the consumer, we can be able to to sign you up with our website, through our website, lifetoquel.com. You could sign up and then have a monthly delivery of free-range grass-fed beef delivered to your house. In that way, we are in control of the way that the product reaches markets. We're not under pressure to supply volumes that are impractical at the growth stage we're at. And there's some of our farmers that we work on as well in vegetables over there. Now, a bit about me, so that people know that, I didn't fall from the sky. I'm born in a place called Ndwedwe in KwaZulu-Natal. Ndwedwe, for those who don't know, if you're flying into King Shaka Airport, if you see like roundabouts and, all those villages and things where there's no traffic lights, just before you land, that's most likely Ndwedwe, right there. So that's where I was born and bred. We still don't have traffic lights in Ndwedwe, not at all. We used to have a KFC, but then it closed down. I think the guy was bringing his own chicken. So they closed it down. So I was born with 5 siblings, and then raised by a single parent. So I didn't have the most rosy of upbringings. But one thing about me is that then the only thing I could have full control of is how well I do in class. That was the one thing I could control. So I then just throughout high school, I would invest myself heavily in the books. I would study till 1 a.m. While people were asleep. I would wake up, switch on the lights, get a small torch, and study. So that when it comes to matric, which had happened, when it came to matric, I had the most important marks, which was maths and science. So those came in top as A's, and then a few B's, and I think 1 C for Afrikaans. It wasn't too bad, but I was still proud, not a biggie. But the one lever I could control was how well I do, so I just gave myself all in there, and then I was able to then have options. So people were pulling me from left and right, wanting to sponsor my university studies. So I had to choose. I don't like this company. This one, no. Okay, I like this one. So that's how really my life really came to where it is now. And then now quickly, I'll talk about techniques that I've learned over the years to break into new markets. And you'll see there is a picture of an eagle and a snake. I'm sure you guys have seen the video online or the story where they say the snake is very powerful on the ground because it can support its body against the ground. It's very fast in the ground. It's lethal, really, on the ground. So really, when faced with a snake on the ground, you really say your last prayers there. And then when it's fighting with an eagle, which an eagle is really a master in the air, is untouchable in the skies. So the eagle will always say, okay, for me to win the fight against the snake, I've got to change the domain. I can't win as an eagle. I cannot win on land. I've got to take the eagle, take the snake, take it to the sky, all the way to the sky, and actually drops it down, and the snake probably has a heart attack on its way down. And then it smashes against the floor. And then that's how the eagle really wins, by saying, okay, I'm not good on the ground, but I'm great in the air. Then let me take the battle all the way there. So the same thing with any form of business. It's very futile to try and say, I'm going to compete with large companies from day one. I've seen the movie many, many times. I'll just reference from my life story in terms of what I've done to make sure that I get into an industry where it's either very monopolized, very big players, no room for new entrants, where I've been able to come in, take a few bites, and then hopefully at some point be able to get a proper plate on the table in the scheme of things. So now what I normally would do is to move the battle into a new domain that most of the established guys don't really like. So you're coming into a space, other people are doing really well, but there's something they've forgotten, the market they don't want to serve. Go there, start there. And and then build skills and competency and a good name in that domain, right there where no one wants to be. And then having done that, then you can be able to then raise funding to enable you to move to the traditional domain. Okay, so I'm going to give you a practical example on this one just now. And then another thing then to also to look out for is they say businesses never die. They just run out of money. Because really it's difficult for entrepreneurs to say, okay, my business closed down. But it's not that whatever you're doing couldn't really work. But there comes a point where the money runs out. And when the money runs out, then you can't pay salaries and you can't pay rent. Then the landlord has got no choice but to put a lock on the door. So once the lock is there on the door, then then it's downhill from there. So keep the costs and the rent and the salaries as low as much as possible. So one of the main things that I picked up for myself was having gone to study, unfortunately study engineering and being able to work as a consultant as well. I learned that with every domain, that every field of study, you can actually read a book, find online, and become a mini expert in whatever domain, which is sufficient for you to not have to then hire someone at 80,000 rand a month, whereas you could have some basic knowledge that you need and then get that person only once a month for 3,000 rand an hour or whatever to just help you with some specific things that you don't know. So by keeping those costs low through doing your own reading as much as you can, then you have a chance of having more oxygen in your tank so that the money doesn't run out. Okay. And then importantly as well, do not fake it till you make it. And most people just do the mistake of saying, okay, they must see my offices. We need to be in Hyde Park. The address must be like, must talk to where we are going, So be careful of that as entrepreneurs as well, especially in agriculture. In agriculture, just be there. Like this is the first time in a few months that I'm wearing a suit. Actually had to clean up quite a bit. Be there, with the filter or brownies, whatever you're wearing. Be there on the ground. Just get work done. That's the main thing. There's no substitute for that. Put in the hours, and then remembering that the people that we idolize, your Amazons, your Apples, most of them they started in a garage, a very small garage. And if you don't have a garage, the kitchen is still fine. Then start there, and get going from there. Now, I'm going to take one example, which is not in agriculture, but just speaking to how I got to where I am. This is the first company I started when leaving corporate in 2006, called Scratch Mobile. Tagline there is called "You Fly, We Fix." So we're the only panel beater in the whole world that I know of, which has got a space at the airport. So when you are flying, going to London for business or going to East London for whatever, you can leave your car with us. We fix the car, scratches, dents, everything while you're flying. When you come back, the car is ready. You don't have to go drive in the dingy parts of town to find a panel beater. You don't have to wait 3 days for the repair. While you're flying, the job is fixed. So that's the first business I started. But it didn't start there. This is us here in a spray booth fixing a Maserati here. But we didn't start here. This was almost like 5-6 years later. This was I think this is 2013. This picture, as you can see from the picture, I still had all my hair in there. Yeah. But what we did is really going back to the lessons that are here, which is in panel beating. To get started, the spray booth that you saw in there, that one where we spray the cars in an enclosed environment with like air circulation and is able to heat up the car after painting, that alone costs R1 million. So now, if you're going to start and put out R1 million to buy a spray booth and rent 40,000, 50,000 rand a month, already you are on a downward spiral there. Because for the first 3 years, you're going to not make any money at all. So what we then did, and hence the name, was said, okay, we will have a mobile panel beater that goes door to door, house to house, office to office, fixing people's cars while they work or while they read the Sunday newspaper. So no one wants to work on Sundays. So we worked on Sundays very happily. While the madam is there drinking his tea and coffee, we are here in the garage there. We are spraying the car. When we are finished, here's the invoice. We've got a mobile credit card machine. They pay, we go home. So you can see, no one wants to work on Sundays. Everyone wants to keep office hours. We're like, okay, we'll work when people are free on Sundays. That's how we moved. We changed the game. No one wants to do mobile. It's difficult. It's hard. You've got to be really good to spray in the open air, to spray where the customer is watching you. Because there you can't really say, sorry, we made a mess, and then you're starting again. You had to get it right the first time. There's no room for error. So you had to be super brilliant there. So exactly, that's what we then did as well. And says, okay, most of these established guys can never do what we're doing. They hate it. And then we went in and just did just that. Did it for 2006 when we started November, 2007. And then in 2007, that's when an opportunity came to start at the airport. We were able to, from my experience in the past flying, I was using the valet parking while I was at corporate. And while we were knocking on doors, for car dealerships, for car rental companies, me and my mates, we walked up to the guys who ran the valet parking there. And we said, hey, your customers, all these big shots, your CEOs and all them, they park here, they leave their cars. Can't we fix them, the small scratches and dents while they're flying? And the guys gave us a chance to do a demo. We did a demo there, and we passed with flying colors, and then we started. And then that's how we started. We moved from just door to door to car dealerships to airports, and that's how the business then was able to start. And once we had some numbers showing, on the bank, we could be able to then raise funding. We could be able to go to enterprise development people and say, hey, we are doing some work here. Here's the proof. We are already working. We are a moving bus. Can you fund us? And the funding happened for us to eventually be able to then afford the spray booth, for us to then be trusted by almost everyone. The politicians who fix all their cars, almost all the CEOs on the JSC and everyone else, we fix their cars there. And some of them I know personally because I've had to deliver their car to their house because it was late. And then that's how I've made some of the strongest friendships that I've made, from just fixing people's cars and being useful to them. Okay, then lastly, then again talking on the same theme again, which is livestock wealth. Livestock wealth, we founded it in 2015, but it's been an idea that's been in my head for the longest of time. Having grown up in Dwedwe, having grown up in a place where at the time there were, I was born in 1980, there were hardly any banks that really serviced the people who were not the mainstream. There was hardly much in terms of financial services there. So, but the beauty of not having options, of not having loans, the grandparents couldn't take loans. They couldn't walk up to a bank or to a loan company and apply for a loan to take kids to school. The beauty of that, in hindsight, was that they were forced to be agriculturalists. They were forced to keep a few cattle. Like my grandparents kept just about 7 or 8, maybe 12 at the most cattle. That's all they did. And they planted orchards, guava trees, they planted peach trees, lychee trees. There's a huge banana orchard as well there. So grandma would always be weekly at the market supplying stuff. But then mom always would tell me the story of herself, how her school fees were paid at the teacher training college where she was studying. There were no bursaries then. There were none, zero whatsoever. So in January, when she had to go back to school, the the parents had to go to the kraal, to say, okay, what do we have in the kraal? What do we have in the household piggy bank, which is right in front of us here? And it was, okay, there's, 10 cows, okay, which one? Okay, that one looks right. Okay, that one, okay, let's sell this one, that one, that one. And from that sale of cattle that were born right within the homestead, from that sale, the money for school fees was able to appear. And then that's how then she became a school principal eventually. That's how I became an engineer at some point. And I think my kids like ballet. I think they're going to probably be ballerina, which is very close to being an astronaut. So, because the ballerina lives in the sky pretty much most of the time. So, yeah. So I think that's the beauty of livestock that I saw in terms of how did cattle contribute to where I am, and then for me was then to say, okay, how can I then take my own life experience and make everyone else to experience the same. So, with livestock, well, really, very easily. Well, wasn't most easy, but initially the plan was, okay, let's buy a farm, and then put in cattle, and okay, that didn't materialize. But at some point, one person gave me a lead of a farmer who was selling his farm in Blood River in KZN. So I drove there with a friend of mine, all the way there. Blood River is next to Newcastle by Freyhead. So drove there. I sit down there, big Afrikaans guy, this one, huge one. I relate to him, livestock wealth. I relate to him, okay, this is what I want to do. I don't know why I just like, because we just connected, and I just said to him, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to enable anyone to be able to own a cow, whether they are in Limpopo or in Lusigisigi. We want to have a farm, and then the people can buy and own 1 cow, 2 cows, 10 cows, according to what they can afford. And the guy fell in love with the idea. And he was able to help us really shape the idea in terms of saying, because me growing up in Dwede, I didn't even know how cattle farming worked in detail. I'd never spent a full 24-hour day in a farm. But he was able to say, okay, Shezi, I know you think, okay, every cow is female, that's get born, and every female cow will have a baby, and every baby will then bring more babies, and then you're going to have 100 cows in 5 years. Because that's how, I think most people also think that same way. But he was able to help us to commercialize our operation, to say, okay, right, okay, there you are, you've got your cow, it will produce an offspring, but the offspring is your money. The offspring is your profit. So the profit then must then be sold. The cow must be sold. The baby, when it gets to a 6 months age, must be sold to bring in money so that it can pay for the mother. So the mother can give birth again next year and every year until she's probably 15 or so years old. So that we were able to then shape the idea like that. And that's how Real Laughter Court was born. And when we launched, we had everyone there. We had City Press, we had ETV, and everyone else came at the Innovation Hub in Pretoria. We even had a team of Zulu dancers there, really livening up the place, really livening up the place properly. And then the app and the website was ready. We had all the photos of the cows inside there, all of them tagged, all of them individually labeled with the tag number, nice photos and all those things of each and every cow. Almost like we actually took a page of an online shopping store and then we just replaced the clothes with the cows, and it did the trick. So then the hardest part was then to get the first sale. So we launched on the 13th of October. To great fanfare. Then ETV ran the story in the morning. I think City Press that weekend. But that anxious, first 15. For us, we were lucky because I think the following day, say 10 a.m. The following day, 10 a.m., which was the 14th of October, 2015. That's when we had our first sale. I've never celebrated that much in my whole life. Because Because I think in any business, it's not a business until someone buys. There's not a business until someone pays you for it. It's still until then, it's just an idea. So that's how the Love Circle was born. Okay, then we had our first international person buy with an American guy. I think he saw the story through some syndications or whatever not. I think Reuters was with some American people buying cars. I'm like, hey, it's America, man. We are big, you know. And then that's how Love Circle really started. In 3 weeks, that first batch of 26 cows that we had put up for sale was all gone. And then the big work of growing now had to start. You know, then the starting part sometimes is easier. Then the harder part is then, okay, now we need to find more cattle. We need to find more cows. We need to find this. We need to scale now. So that becomes, that's the real business now. The other one is, it's the one is breaking. The entering and staying inside is the hardest part. You know, so those are some of the lessons. So that's how Love Circle was really born, to say, we can have a farm, which is one farm, and there's a herd of cows in the farm, but different owners of cattle in the farm. So we actually trademarked that term. We call it crowd farming, which is the crowdfunding of farming. So, and one of the problems that we've solved through that is that as we grew, at some point we couldn't run all the farms ourselves. We didn't have the ability to release enough land at the pace that the market, our customers were demanding. So then we had to then pivot and say, okay, how do we take what we're doing and make it work for the farmer as well? So that we're not just the ones who are doing the farming, but we are now working with the farmers to do some of the farming for us. So one of the things that we saw in our case was that farmers don't necessarily get funding. There's hardly much funding out there for agriculture. Agriculture, I was talking to someone outside saying, agriculture is an extreme sport now. I think we all need to get those Red Bull overalls as farmers, because it's a tough industry. That's everyone wants food, everyone wants good food, but no one is willing to fund the growing of food, which is really a very it's a sad way when you think about it. That in that case, then farmers cut corners. That's why, remember a few years back, people were finding horse meat in beef trays, at Chisanyamas. Horse meat was being eaten there. Why? Because people are cutting corners to fill a demand. We don't know what's in our food. Farmers are putting things to make cattle grow unnaturally faster, chickens unnaturally faster, and then we're surprised when we get cancer. We get all these other diseases later in life. And then, yes, it's cheap food now because no one wants to fund it. It's cheap food, sure, it's a cheap steak, but it's expensive when you have cancer and you have to do chemo. So we then said, okay, we'll work with the farmer to say our program will be able to fund the farmer to grow the cow. So by you owning the cow at the farm, you are indirectly funding the farmer then. And then, secondly, as well, agro-processing, and then lastly, because most people say you can't fund primary agriculture, but we'll fund you for agro-processing. So you find that if you try to open a meat processing plant, but you don't have the cows, if you're trying to open a juice factory, but you don't have the oranges or the supply of the oranges, chances of success are very low even there. So that's really my journey in a nutshell, in terms of saying how do you come in, how do you break, how do you enter, how do you come into a space where there's restriction, how do you do something differently, and then by doing differently, you're able to then create a space for you just to have enough oxygen in your tank to survive until help arrives. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That is Ndutugo Shezi talking about, livestock. And looking at Ntutugo's presentation, when he had a picture where there were big pieces of meat hanging there, then I realized that definitely the stakes are high when it comes to entrepreneurship. And it's good to know that technology can also be brought into space whereby it can enable the entrepreneurs to do the work that they need to do. So to all our viewers online, we haven't forgotten about you. Please do interact with us on the platform. And you know that there will be 5 gigabytes worth of data that we will be giving away later today to 5 active participants. Please make sure that you have those questions lined up as we will be having our Q&A session later during the proceedings of today's masterclass. So right now we have another dynamic speaker. I mean, we're talking leveraging tech and innovation here. And it's none other than Grant Jacobs, who is the CEO and co-founder of Hello Choice, a leading online agricultural marketplace that revolutionizes the trading of fresh produce and agricultural inputs. Without any further ado, I would like us to give a warm welcome to Grant Jacobs to blow us away with innovation when it comes to tech in the entrepreneurial
Thanks
space.
very much, man. Very good. Brilliant. Thank you. Perfect. Thanks very much, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. And I must give a shout out to companies like Metropolitan for creating the platform and actually supporting young entrepreneurs, and especially young entrepreneurs in agriculture. And what I'm going to be talking about today is how to really, green button, there we go, how to use technology and how to innovate in your agricultural business. Because as in fact Shezi said, and Shezi, thank you for those stories, some great stories, is that you've got to be able to compete. The world is a competitive place, and as a youth entrepreneur, you've got to be able to compete. And ultimately, you need to use every single leverage point available to you. And yesterday, I was actually with a group of new generation farmers talking about how we could actually support their business, and also talking about how they are using our Hello Choice platform. And one of the young female farmers, she actually coined a phrase. Hopefully it's hers. I don't know if it is. She spoke about a solopreneur, and basically what she was talking about is that how lonely it can be being an entrepreneur where you haven't got support, skills, guidance, and it's so much tougher actually being a farmer because you're isolated physically. It's not even like in an urban area. You're isolated physically. So kind of these platforms to kind of gain that skill, expertise are absolutely valuable. But to kind of start off with, the first thing I'm going to say, it can be very difficult, but it shouldn't be. Now that sounds like a bit of a sort of controversial statement. You're mixing up these two things, because innovation, leveraging of technology can be difficult, but there are ways to make it easy. And hopefully what I'll do is give you some tips about some of the things we've done within Hello Choice, but also some of the things that I've done in other businesses, which in fact hopefully will be of benefit and value to you. So why is it difficult? So 2 things I'd like you to actually try and do. One is there's a clip interview with Steve Jobs, which is this kind of interview, and it's actually quite an old clip. But the actual sentiment is, in fact, absolutely relevant. And what he's taking in this quote, he's taking a punt at John Scully, who actually kicked him out of Apple, and he started next, and actually later came back to Apple. But kind of basically, he says one of the things that really hurt Apple was that after John Scully got a very serious disease. And that disease, I've seen other people get it too, is the disease of thinking that a really great idea is 90% of the work. There's a tremendous amount of craftsmanship between a great idea and a great product, and it's the process that is the magic. So it's the process that is the magic. So one of the things that in fact Shezi spoke about is how you really need to work at it step by step. It's not a great aha moment. Sometimes there is this great idea, but it's the hard work and the graft that goes in, ultimately, that actually helps you be successful. Then on the other side, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, he's given a different dimension. That's the other side of the coin. He said, ideas don't come out fully formed. They only become clear as you work on them. You just have to get started. So often we can overthink it, we can overcomplicate it, simplify, and get started. That's really how you learn practically, step by step. And I think those are some of the themes we'd like to kind of talk about. So if we look at innovation, so let's dive a bit deeper into innovation. So when you look at it, what drives innovation? And there are a number of elements to it, a number of things that actually drive innovation. One is obviously technological advances. So for instance, for a smallholder farmer is being able to leverage a platform like Hello Choice, where suddenly you can, through market access, compete with big farmers. Suddenly, as a small retailer, you can compete with major, large national retailers. As a finance business who wants to access those markets, you can actually access them digitally. So being aware of those kinds of opportunities. Changes in regulation. The culture that you have in your own agribusiness needs to be innovative. So you need to be thinking about every single opportunity, listening to your customers. And in fact, we'll next get on to customers next. And then ultimately your competition. Your competition are always changing, fighting, and you need to really think about it. And in fact, be prepared to go where they actually aren't. But right in the center is the customer. Who is your customer? Who is your customer? What do they really need? And maybe a couple of sort of touch points to kind of maybe just a couple of things to kind of think about. The first thing is around what's called customer-led innovation. And these days they call it design thinking. Really understand your customer. What is going to make that customer really excited and stick with you as opposed to every other option? There are always other options available to your customers. Why are they going to come with you? So this is about listening. One of the things we do specifically at Hello Choice, we engage a lot with our farmers, retailers, wholesalers, food processors, transporters, and we listen. And especially when they say it would be nice if, then we take exceptional note of that point. So listen to your customer. Who's your customer? Engage with them. One of the other points is around collaboration. Internally, within your own organization, but externally with partners. So in fact, collectively with other partners who work with you, you could pool transport, you could pool packaging, you could do with your bankers, your financiers, your transport operators, any resource available to you to grab those resources as best possible. Diversity. Absolutely critical, because you need all different eyes and elements. Young, old, women, farmers, commercial farmers, teachers. Get as much information as possible so that you can really understand the problem, see what kind of opportunities are in fact available to you. Discipline and follow through. The idea is great, but then when you have the plan, you really got to follow through that plan, and it's tough. You know, it's difficult. People doubt you. You doubt yourself. Ultimately being able to actually follow through, but at the same time, you need to be able to pivot when you need to, and that's a difficult decision. When to pivot and when to in fact persevere. And two kind of things to kind of think about. One is what's called validation. So often we make an assumption. We make an assumption that a particular retailer is going to buy your butternut or your cauliflower or whatever. Validate that assumption. Talk to them. Talk to other people. Okay. Experiment as quickly as possible, because you don't want to wait six months later find out you actually made that terrible mistake. So have access to information partners who can actually help you learn as quickly as possible. There's some other points there, but as I said, we can actually touch on some of those, maybe in some of the questions that actually sort of come out. So maybe a couple of takeaways that hopefully you can actually use. One is, it's a process and not an event. And as part of that is just one step at a time, one step at a time. So understand your customer, talk to people, have a plan, work it step by step. One of the points that Shezi made as well is your costs. You have to watch your cost with such every single cent. But when you need to invest boldly. And that's difficult. That's difficult to make. And kind of one of the other points, I mean, is, how you need to you actually need the ability to have both those elements to you, where you are watching every single cent, but you actually invest boldly where you actually need to. The other element is trust yourself. So you can very easily doubt your ability, and especially as a young farmer, when there's hail, there's frost, irrigation problems, transportation issues, damage on your crops, you can really start to actually doubt yourself. So the key thing is trust yourself. You really have a lot of wisdom, insight, but beyond that, also trust your resources. So you have to be able to reach out, and networking is so absolutely critical, absolutely critical. Trust those networks and in your own skill and ability. And then the final point to finish off is just start, because it's one step at a time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Grant. Much
Pleasure,
appreciated.
Nati. Okay.
Now we know that we can still embrace technology and be innovative in how we conduct and run our businesses. And I mean, he shared some of the factors that drive innovation in the world of business. And, speaking about the world of business, we know that as Metropolitan, we are a financial services institution. And moreover, when you're running a business, insurance is one thing that you put right at the bottom of your priority list. And there are times where you feel as if we don't need insurance, but then there comes a time when life happens and you're thinking, oh my goodness, do I have sufficient cover for my business? Will I be able to make sure that my business stays afloat should the inevitable happen? So to give us more in terms of the importance of insurance, it's none other than one of our dynamic leaders here at Metropolitan. We have Queen Malobane, who is a provincial general manager, and she will be breaking it down for us in terms of how important it is, for us to have insurance in our businesses. But for those of us that are still online, please don't forget to follow us on various social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn as Metropolitan, we are on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Metropolitan ZA, and definitely Instagram, Metropolitan_ZA. And yeah, Queen Malobane will be coming through now just to tell us in terms of how important it is to have insurance. And we do have 5 gigabytes of data that we will be giving away to 5 active participants on the platform. So we're looking out for those, and we do encourage you to engage with us. Let us give a warm Metropolitan Collective Shapers welcome to Queen. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Is it still morning? Okay, it's still morning. When you've been up for so long, it seems like it's gone very far in the day. Okay. I think a lot of people don't like to talk around insurance, and I think it's one of those things that I'm very passionate around, because without insurance, there's a lot of gaps that we will experience in our lives. So I'm here today, honored to talk to you about the importance of insurance. As already introduced by Nati, I'm Queen Malobane. I'm the Provincial General Manager in Metropolitan. So insurance is my game. Why is insurance important? I think the crucial thing is around protection. There's a thing called risk. We don't know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. It doesn't have any signals. So one of the important things as a business owner, as an individual, is how do you protect against financial loss? But also, how do you protect your family? How do you protect your business, and how do you protect yourself? I think life has a lot of uncertainties. This morning you can wake up and you're okay. Tomorrow you can wake up with a disability, or you can wake up with a critical illness. And it's only insurance that will ensure that you've got a continued income to actually cater for these things. But I think it's more complex than that when you run a business. And I think a lot of small businesses, we normally don't think of these things when we run our business. It's all around cash flow and making an income. And one of the crucial things around protecting yourself, it's creating wealth, but making sure that you've got a business that is financially healthy. A business that is financially healthy, it's one that is able to sustain itself, one that has a healthy balance sheet, but also I think for a small business, it's about the cash flow. So how do you ensure that you do that? Firstly, it's understanding that what belongs to the business, it's not yours. And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes that small businesses do, thinking that the money that I generate within my business is my money. It is not your money. So as a small business, importantly, pay yourself a salary, just like an employee of the business. And what do you do with the rest of the business money that you have? It's all around investment. How do you take that money and invest it back into growing your business? How do you ensure that you take your business from one level to the next? But secondly, there's an important thing. I think we had our engineer here. He is probably the key person within his business. And from an insurance perspective, it's all around thinking about what happens if something happens to him. Firstly, is there key man insurance. That ensures that should something happen to the director, to you as a director of the business, there is continuity within the business. And I think that's what is important around creating a legacy. It's not about creating a business that is only going to be sustainable whilst you're there, but it's a business that will be sustainable even if you are not there. And the second part of it is around how do you secure the assets of your business? I think as a farmer, you've got things like a tractor. You saw the livestock, you saw the farming. I mean, even in livestock, there's risk. I mean, there's those, even in chickens, there's bird flu, there's stuff like that. Those are the things that you can engage, us as insurers to actually look at what are my protection, options that are available. Can I protect my livestock? Can I protect my vehicles? Can I protect my tractors? Because those are the key tools of your business. And if you lose any of those key tools, you will not be able to continue. And running a small business is about ensuring that there's continuity. Continuity you'll only have if you make sure that you've got sufficient protection in place for you, for your business, and for the assets of the business. And what is the other key asset of your business? It's your people. You've got employees within your business as a small business. And I think a critical thing is realizing that if anything happens to me as an employee, who is my family going to come to first? You as an employer. So what kind of employee benefits have you created? And I think the greatest thing is that at Metropolitan, we have products that are able to provide for group funeral plan for your employees, where you as an employer, as a benefit, and to create that affinity to support your employees, you can take out a group scheme that actually supports your employees. And I think as you grow as a business, you can look at bigger things other than just, funeral. You can look at retirement plans, you can look at group life, but I think as a start, especially in a farming business that is small, and we know how little income, farming employees actually earn. So how can you as an employer support them is by ensuring that you engage with us and you get a group funeral for them. But I think importantly as well, as a business, you as an individual, how do you ensure that in creating this wealth, you protect your family? Have you made sure that you've got a will in place that actually speaks to what's going to happen should something happen to you? But also, have you made sure that in your estate there's enough liquidity to actually wind up your estate? And one way you can ensure that there's liquidity, one day you can ensure that there's continuity in your family, one way you can ensure that the property that you've built for your family that they don't lose, that might still be owing to the bank, is to ensure that you've got a life cover in place. So it's important that you sit with a financial advisor, do a proper analysis of what are my assets, what are my liabilities, but also realizing that when you die, there's executor's fees, there's the tax from the government, there's a whole lot of costs that your estate will have to have. And to ensure that you create that liquidity, because we don't always sit with a lot of cash flow. and it could be very, very expensive, is to ensure that you supplement that by having the proper life cover. But also a life cover will ensure that your children still continue to go to school, but also the wealth that you've created, you are able to protect it. Because remember, as a business person, if anything happens to you, your creditors are going to be paid out of your estate before anything. And I always say, for those that married a long time ago and did it COP, I'm not sure, we didn't know better. But as business people as well, and I'd like to talk to the young business people out there, it's important that you understand the implications of the marital regime you're going to get to, because it might implicate the wealth that you're creating as a business. And things happen in business. So if your business was to go down, will your family be protected? So do not look into community of property, but understand what are the financial implications of any marital regime I may be entering into, and what implications that is come to from my business, but also from my family. And you know, as entrepreneurs, we don't work for a company, so we have what we call a pension fund. But the truth of the matter is that we're going to retire someday. Are you planning for your retirement? You know, currently there's a lot of hoo-ha around the two-pot system. Maybe it's not an interesting thing for entrepreneurs, because some are thinking, hey, I just have to make my income for tomorrow. But it's also important to realize that someday you're going to be 60, you're going to be 65. And I don't think any one of us wants to work until we're 100. And if you look at the life expectancy these days, due to medical engineering, most of us are going to live longer. So how do we ensure that when we retire, we actually retire comfortably? And that is why at Metropolitan, we have options that we offer you around retirement annuities. And don't worry, we're going to be two-pot compliant come the 1st of September in terms of our retirement annuity product. But to create your own pension, make sure that you have a retirement annuity. And when you speak to a financial advisor as well as an entrepreneur, you'll realize that there's also tax benefits by having a retirement annuity. A retirement annuity is that money that you put away for you to retire someday comfortably. I think in South Africa currently, statistics say probably around only 14% of South Africans are going to be able to retire comfortably. And I don't think our government, the state, can afford to pay this SASSA pension funds to all of us. And that is why they introduce rules such as the two-pot system, because they're trying to make sure that we save money and keep it in there locked up for our retirements. So I want to encourage entrepreneurs, please make sure that as much as you look at growing your business, think about not today, but also tomorrow. Another important thing is that you've got children, they are young. What investments are you putting in place to make sure that your children can be able to go through, primary school, high school, but most importantly, tertiary education? Ubabala is very lucky. He was the clever one that actually got distinctions, and everyone was fighting against him for a bursary. But not all children are the same. And not all children can study the same thing. And I feel that sometimes as parents, we let our children down by not investing for their education. People always ask me, when is the right time to start investing? If you don't have a child yet, the moment you get that birth certificate, phone a financial advisor and say, I want to put an education plan in place for my child. But also, it's important for you as an individual and as a business to always have savings. We've got things such as drought in farming. We've got unexpected incidents like what happened in Cape Town recently in terms of the floods. Those are things that could wipe out your investment. But have you got savings? Have you got insurance that ensures that there is business continuity within your business? I think there's a lot that we can talk about, but I would really like to encourage you, look at insurance as your best friend. I know sometimes you say, I'm paying now when I'm going to get the benefit. That's why it's called insurance. It's around risk. There isn't a time, a place set of what is going to happen. I think right now in Ethiopia, there's been floods. Those were unexpected. I mean, if you look at, what do you call this thing, where the world is changing the weather? Global warming. Thank you. My data band, my English data bundles are a bit low. It's Friday. If you look at global warming and its impact, and who are the people that it's affecting the most, it's actually the farming industry. Because the way that the weather used to work, the way the seasons used to work, has totally, completely changed. Sometimes we don't even know when it's spring, when it's summer, when it's whatever. So just think around how much this has an impact on businesses. If floods were to happen, what will happen to your crops? You know, if this disease is a food disease or whatever was to happen, what will happen to your livestock? And do you have the right protection? But also, have you made enough provision for your family? So when you invest in your business and it makes profit, remember, that's not for you to go and buy a Maserati. It's for you to come and talk to us so that we put that in an investment and we save for a rainy day. Because ultimately, it's around creating a legacy. It's around making sure that the business that you're creating today at 25 years, at 30 years, at 35 years, your children, your great-grandchildren would be able to actually take over and be able to run with your business. So I would really like to encourage you to say, let's come together as you, Metropolitan Collective Shapers. That's why we're here, to make sure that we can build your business to be strong, to be sustainable, but also to create a long-lasting legacy. Because as Metropolitan, we believe together we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Queen. That is the Provincial General Manager at Metropolitan, and touching on very important aspects in terms of, we know that as entrepreneurs, we're focusing a lot on our businesses, but we tend to forget about the individual behind the business. So just make sure that you have the right cover and the right insurance vehicle, and look no further. Metropolitan is here to make sure that we go this journey with you. And we know that over and above that, insurance is very much important. When it comes to entrepreneurship, yes, we spoke about market access earlier on, and now we know that you need to access some funds to start your business. You need to access to funds to run your business and to keep your business sustainable. And I have a pleasure to introduce our next speaker to come to the podium, and this is none other than Craig Murrell. Craig is the head of Department of Rural Development and Social Investment, as well as the head of Department of Advisory Services at Agri Enterprises, an agricultural economist by training, and also he has appraised hundreds of projects, funding proposals, and worked as a deal maker to structure multi-million-dollar funding agreements. Without any further ado, to talk about access to funding, let's give it up to Craig Murrell.
Thanks so much, Nanti. Hey everyone, morning, my name's Craig. I'm really happy to be here with you today. And I'm just going to start, whether you're selling cabbages, you're selling carpets, whatever your business is made up of, whatever the DNA of that business is, it's very telling of you because you're an entrepreneur. I know this, I'm going to talk to you about accessing funding, but I want to come to you as potentially your friend. I have, in my role as sort of a double head of department over my time as working with Agri Enterprises, we have seen millions and millions and millions of rand go towards projects, and I've overseen a lot of this. And I just want to share from my perspective as a funder. Also, we work with a lot of funders. I want to give you the inside track. You need funding to run your business, but from a perspective of funders, I don't want you to keep walking into closed doors. I don't want you as entrepreneurs to keep getting told, no, I want to show you a way. You haven't told me what I needed to hear, so I'm not even going to listen to you. So there we go. So when we talk access to funding, so you say that you want funding. I just want to start by asking you to please answer these questions before you ask for funding from anybody. Start with understanding within your business, what do you actually need? Do you need funding as an investment, or do you need to grow your sales? Businesses need to generate their own finances. Businesses need to be able to generate their own wealth and their own income. Yes, if I asked who would like 100K, every single person, employee or entrepreneur, is going to put up their hands. I want 100K. It would be great. But how are you going to get it? Are you going to ask somebody for it? Are you going to ask for an investment? Or do you have a plan to generate that per month? So you're doing 100K a month, 1.2 bar a year in turnover, so that you can pay yourself a good salary, so that you as an entrepreneur can pay your staff and take everything home. In terms of, if you are certain that it's funding that you need, it's not sales, it's not a pipeline, you need somebody externally to put money into your company, what does that look like? What do you want to use the funding for? Do you need it for cash flow? Do you need to sustain the monthly operations? Have you got your process down, but cash is just too tight? The terms on your suppliers are too strict, and the terms on with your customers are maybe just too lenient to them. You're paying everyone on 14 days, you're getting paid on 90 days. That's maybe cash flow funding or investment. Investment to me means you want to do something new. You want to do something differently. And you cannot unlock that unless somebody puts money into your business. Now you're entering into the realm of saying, I need external funding in my business now. When you reach that point, you need to understand what's available. You need to do a good look and have a good think. And some of the things that are available for you in terms of external funding are invoice financing, OPEX funding, CAPEX, repayable, non-repayable funding, and diluting funding. Maybe during the Q&A, if you have any technical questions, I'll happily answer those for you. But it's really important. Not all investment's investment, not all funding is funding. And preferably, if you are looking for something more operational, look at cash flow financing, which is otherwise known as invoice financing, also called cash flow discounting. You need an order to be eligible for this. You take an order saying, I've got a 500K order or a 50K order, I need to pay my suppliers 30% of that. So here's my order, please give me 30% of the cash so I can fill the order. And it's not necessarily a loan, but it's fully repayable. OPEX, CAPEX, important as well. Non-repayable funding is really cool. Fundamentally, you don't need to repay it, but it needs to be able to unlock something. This is often linked to impact and investment. Okay, and then the last one is diluting funding. Diluting funding, this is otherwise known as investment. This is you're going to offer up a share of your company. And be ready for it, because once you start letting other decision makers into your company, you have to now, you have to focus up. So the last thing, what can funding unlock in your business that you cannot currently achieve? That's the last question you need to be able to answer. It's not just nice to get money, it's not just nice to get funding. What specifically do you want it for? So as a funder, if you were to go to a funder, put yourself in their shoes. What is a funder looking for? They're looking for a trustworthy partner. That's number one. And I'm going to break this into two parts. So as a trustworthy partner, you should be able to show that you've worked to develop your business. You should be able to show that you have a track record, that you have actuals, that you've got a history of performance and a history of committing to ideas. And I loved so much that Shazi shared a few of his examples, because he also has lessons learned. Not every single business that you start, not every single idea that you follow is going to work, but you're going to have lessons learned. If you can show a body of evidence that you've applied yourself, you have really put your blood, your sweat, your tears into this company, a funder can work with it. But if a funder just sees you have an idea and you haven't put in the hard work, I would say you're pretty likely that the funder is just going to say, thank you so much, but we can't do business here. So show that you have built up a track record. The second part of funding, funders are looking for trusted partners. So the second part of it is, have you thought thoroughly through what you want to use the funding for? And so this now gets to the business plan. And just the flow of this, part one, show the funder what you've done. Part two is show the funder what you want to do. Business plans are not all that amazing. Because if you don't have a track record and you have a business plan, you've got a dream, but you have not, I would say you don't have the proof to show that you can execute your dream. So the business plan comes secondary. Build up a track record and then document what you've done, put that into a business plan. The two questions you should be going through your head when you're running a business plan, when you're writing your business plan, is the stuff on the page likely to happen, and is it probable to happen? This comes into now sensible and proportionality. If you're managing to do 70K per annum, it's a new business, so far historic sales are 700K, you're asking someone for 2 million rands worth of investment, and you say that by 2 years, I'm going to take that 70K per annum to 7 million rand per annum. It's not proportional. You haven't shown the track record that you can do that. So let's aim at something that's achievable. So I wanted to get quite practical. I wanted to say, how do funders select a business to fund? I want us to work through an example of a criteria we recently used for a funding program. So number one, we started with track record, financials and actuals. So we started asking questions for entrepreneurs to submit to us documentation that looks like, send us your invoices, send us some receipts, management accounts, your customer base, who's buying from you. Send us all your FICA documents, send us your SARS registration, send us your CIPC registrations, send us your tax, and an expense register. If a business is not able to demonstrate this at the minimum, we don't even bother asking for a business plan because they have not documented the process that they've followed, so we don't know if we can trust them with our money as a funder. So, say you're an entrepreneur. You look at this and you say, I've got this. Great, let's look at your plan for the business. So as a funder, we want to see, talking agriculture, what's your production plan? If you're not in agriculture, how do you plan to make your money? What are you going to turn into cash? The second is a sales plan. How are you going to get those customers through the door? How are you going to get the money out of their pocket into yours? And how are you going to fulfill that order? Just be practical. How are you going to get their money into your business? And how are you going to get your product or your service into their hands? And they are going to spend more money later. And the third one is an enterprise budget forecast. This isn't rocket science. This just says, currently I am doing this. This is my plan. And now, looking into the future, here's what it looks like month for month, year for year. That's fundamentally what we want to see, those three components. Yes, market analysis is very important. Competitor analysis is really important. If you've got a great product and you've got great distribution, that's most of the battle won. So then we're going to assess the quality of the business plan. So you've got a track record. You've shown us your history. You have now shown us your plan for the business. We're now going to say, what's the quality of it? Is it sensible and is it proportional? Is it likely? Is it probable? And this is now where you can start having some negotiation. Just because a funder says, I don't like this idea, doesn't mean you must walk away. You must say, okay, that's fine. Explain to me why you don't like it, or is there something that you would like? Instead of asking for 200K, can't you do 100K or maybe 200K in tranches? Can you break this thing up? How about I meet some milestones or I meet some deliverables, and then we unlock the next part of my funding? It's a negotiation. Once you've progressed through that, we would then deem a business investment ready. That's not, yes, let's release the money, let's give you the funding right now, but it means your business is investment ready. And as a funder, we can do business with you. So what to do next? If you're a business, if you're saying, I've got some sales, but I want to grow my sales. I've got processes, but I want to grow them. I want to unlock more money. I want to move from 10K a month to 100K a month. I want to move from 100K a month to a couple mil. If you have not already, start documenting your track record. You have to be able to take your body of evidence to funders to say, based on this, step 2, I want to now drive more sales and go and get more orders. It's based on your history. Let's talk about your plan. So driving sales and getting orders, you don't need a funder to do this. You should be doing this anyway. Services companies they teach you an incredible amount about the fact that if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, my belief is that your first role, your first job title is that you're a salesperson. You're a saleswoman or you're a salesman. If you cannot sell and you own your own company, you are in for a tough time because you're going to want to spend somebody else's money to run your company and have no way of paying them back. And then lastly, you want to spend some time searching for the funding that suits your business. Non-repayable funding, great. Cash flow financing or invoice financing, great. Diluting financing, it's got a very specific purpose. You're allowing other decision makers into your business. And the repayable funding, if you cannot make those repayments, there are severe consequences. But if you've got the track record and the plan, it's sensible and probable, it might just work. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Craig. And access to funding, and in the beginning of your presentation, Craig, you did mention that you are a friend. Definitely, if you have funding access, I'm definitely your friend too. And it's different ways to fund business. I mean, there's grants, there's funding, and these could also be strategic ways to get partners, strategic partners to come in and invest into our businesses for the development and the growth plans of our businesses. So as we're moving on now in terms of how to also, talk about networking for your hustle. I mean, we usually call businesses a hustle, a side hustle, but there's nothing like a small business because there's nothing small about running a business. So, to talking about networking for your hustle, I'm very much excited to present to you Lebo Lion, known as the voice of marketing. She is a marketing thought leader, new media entrepreneur, women's advocate, author, and speaker who has transformed over 10,000 small to medium-sized businesses on the African continent through free online content, digital products, business events, seminars, and her leading business podcast called the Lebo Lion Show. So, ladies and gentlemen, and all our online viewers and participants, let us give a roaring welcome to Lebo Lion.
Thank you very much. How does it work? Oh, okay. Ooh. So, I know a girl who yawned, a very, very big yawn, in front of her idol the first time she met him at a networking event. I know this girl because this girl is me. And if you allow me, I'd like to share some of my networking horror stories with you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lebo Lion, known as the voice of marketing and your friend in all things marketing, brand building, business mindset, and sometimes pop culture. The thing about networking is you need the skill whether you want to develop it or not. So I think it's very important for us to have events like this that help us nurture these kinds of skills and understand why they're so important. When I was in my mid-20s, a friend of mine and I decided that we were going to be very ambitious, successful women. So we wanted to go to every single networking event that we could find. At the time, my Twitter career was also growing, so I was getting invited to a lot of private events. And I got an invitation to one private event where my idol, my business idol at the time, was going to be speaking. So I was excited and I said, yes, I'm going. However, in the days leading up to that event, a lot of things were happening in my life. I had a lot of work to do, I had school to do, there was just a lot going on. So by the time it was the day of the event, I was exhausted. And I went to the event anyway, and I said to myself, I'm going to meet this person. I'm a strong woman. I'm ambitious. I can do anything I put my mind to. So I go. My idol facilitates a keynote, and afterwards they let us form a line to meet my idol. When I get to the front of the line, he greets me. He says, good evening. And in response, instead of saying good evening back, I yawn. It was incredibly embarrassing. I was so tired that I couldn't even hold myself in to greet him properly. Instead of saying good evening, I yawned. The guy looked so mortified that instead of continuing a conversation with me, he asked me to move to the side and called the next person to come and speak to him. That was probably the worst networking experience I've had, but I've had really successful ones ever since then. And I think that's why we need to understand that networking is not a perfect process, but it's important, and you can live through the negative experiences, but there's so many positive experiences that you're going to have if you continue to nurture the skill. We live in a socially sophisticated world, and we can attribute this to, you know what, I forgot about there we go. We live in a socially sophisticated world, and we can attribute this to the fourth industrial revolution that's characterized by things like augmented reality, robotics, the Internet of Things, and we can also include social media in that, which I think is probably one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal at the moment. And I think it's a fusion of technologies that are blurring the lines between the physical, the digital, and the biological spheres. And that simply means that as an individual, you have a dual offline and online lived experience. Gone are the days when networking meant that you had to leave the house with a bag full of business cards to go and speak to a small room of people about what you have to offer. Things have changed and we can do them differently. How many people in this room have heard of the phrase, your network is your net worth? I'm sure a lot of us have. I know growing up I heard that quite often, even in university and even in business rooms now I hear this phrase. And I find that a lot of us have misinterpreted what the phrase actually means. Your network is your net worth doesn't mean that if you have a lot of money, you're a very valuable individual, or that if you spend a lot of time with important people, you become an important person. Your network is your net worth is actually the title of a book by a woman called Porter Gale, and she used to be the vice president of marketing for Virgin America. And she wrote this book because she wanted to highlight how the landscape has changed due to digital innovations. And so we have to network differently to fit the new digital landscape that we occupy. We've entered a new era, one in which shifting cultural values and the explosion of digital technology enable us to do networking in a more focused way, in a more effective way, and in more enjoyable ways. But what is networking? And I believe in definitions because I think it allows us to be on the same page. Network is simply the process of making connections and building relationships. And these connections and relationships are supposed to help us further our pursuits and have some kind of commercial gain in the process. And since we are networking in this digital age, is there a difference between the old way we used to do networking and the new way we do networking in the digital age? I'd like to believe that there's a slight difference. And if I were to create a definition for networking, I would add the fact that networking in a digital age requires you to have a personal branding mindset. And I know that's unconventional. People are thinking, why does a personal brand matter in networking? The thing about having a personal brand is that it conscientizes you to start thinking about the value that you offer in the rooms that you're in. When we are merging the online and offline spaces, it means that there's more noise, more competition, and it's much harder to be seen by the right people, even though you get more opportunities. So having a personal branding mindset allows you to ask yourself, what value am I bringing to a room? Which spaces should I be going to? You're no longer just going into rooms for the sake of there might be an opportunity. You're quite centered in your perspective about how do I go about making meaningful and commercial connections. So for you to be a person with a personal brand in rooms, you have to have that personal branding mindset. And I've come up with 3 characteristics that you need to have if you're going to be somebody with a personal branding mindset. The first one is you need to be somebody who thinks about long-term relationships, right? Networking is not about meeting someone today and just leaving it at that. You want to cultivate long-term relationships so you can get the best out of and the most out of those relationships. So you have to have a long-term relationship mindset. The second thing is you have to be value-driven. It's about an exchange of value. It's not just about what the other person can give you, but it's about what you can give the other person and how you can create meaningful things for the economies that you serve. And the third thing is you need to have an alignment mindset. You're not just going to events to meet people who seem important for the sake of it. You're actually going to spaces where you feel that there's an alignment with the people in the room. You have shared values, you have shared business principles. Whatever the case may be, it's all about alignment. It's not just about meeting people and being next to people because of their designation or their roles. So what do we do? How do we network now that we are in a digital age and we have this personal branding mindset? There are 6 characteristics or things that you can think of when you are networking in a digital age that are going to help you navigate through this landscape quite easily. The first one is you need to define your value. And in marketing, we say you need to create a USP, a unique selling proposition. You actually have to sit at home and think to yourself, what is it that I can offer the market that nobody else can? What makes me different to the next person? What is it that makes me stand out apart from everybody else? And I find that a lot of people don't ask themselves this question because they're often going to networking events thinking, I'm just going to pitch my business. But before you can pitch your business, you actually have to pitch yourself. because business is a P2P exercise, people to people. It's not the buildings, it's not the branding, it's not the office furniture, it's people. You have to connect with the people first before they let you into their organizations. So what is it about you that makes you different from everybody else in the room? The second thing that you have to do, and I guess this one is a little bit tricky because we've never really had to do it this way until now because of the advent of social media, is you need to get social. And when I say get social, I mean you need to be on social media. You need to have a LinkedIn profile. You need to be using your Facebook and your Instagram. Remember that the social media space is actually probably the biggest marketplace in the world. You can access anybody in the world using social media. And that's something that is very new to the networking space, because before you'd only be confined to the environment that you live in and the rooms that you can have access to. But social media has changed the game, and you can access billions and billions of people. And that means that you need to have a really solid and strong social media presence. And on your social media presence, you need to share your value. How do you do this? You show people what you have to offer, and not in a salesy way, but you actually share valuable stuff. So if you are a farmer, tell stories about how you're planting your crops, for example. You know, show us the journey of how you get things done. That is how you share your value. It's different to simply pitching yourself. You're actually socializing, and that's why it's called social media. So you need to get social if you want to know how to network in a digital age. The third thing that you have to do is you need to collaborate. And this is beautiful, especially if you're using the online space, because this entails things like attending an IG Live, for example, or a LinkedIn event. And you can literally start to network with the people within that conversation by asking questions, by offering solutions. Even in events like this, if there is a comment section somewhere, you could be the person asking questions or offering some advice, or, you know, doing something that gets you to be seen. Collaboration is also asking people, how can I make things better for you? Let me help you with what I have to offer without wanting anything in return. Because what this does is it exposes you to that person's networks. That's what collaboration does. It expands your opportunities for accessing opportunities because you get to meet other people's networks. And that's really powerful. The fourth thing you have to do is you have to do your research, and you have to be extremely knowledgeable. A lot of people go to networking events without doing their research on the people who are going to be there. And that really impacts your opportunities to truly connect with the people you want to connect with, because they know that you don't really know who they are, or you haven't done the work to be able to access them. So if you're going up to people and you're asking them generic questions, what inspired you? How did you get into this? I mean, you could literally Google that if you're going to an event with somebody who's notable. So always do your research, but then also be knowledgeable about your industry. Know what you're talking about so that you are a credible person, that people actually believe you when you're speaking. If you're not prepared when you go to networking events, you're not going to be able to stretch the opportunities that are accessible to you in those spaces. The fifth thing is you do need to prepare an elevator pitch. And an elevator pitch is basically a 30-second to 1 minute pitch that tells somebody who you are and what you have to offer. What people usually mistake when they create an elevator pitch is they make the elevator pitch all about their business and not the value that they have to offer. And a lot of people will say to me, okay, but what do you mean by the value that somebody has to offer? I mean, you need to sit at home and ask yourself, or in the office, what value am I offering somebody? How can I help them with one of the challenges they're facing or one of the problems that they have? And that should be the cornerstone of your elevator pitch. It's really about how can I help somebody else? And when you get their attention with how you can help them, then you can extend the conversation and have a longer one about what you really do and who you really are. But your elevator pitch is supposed to be about grabbing somebody's attention and showing them how you can be useful to them in their lives. And the last thing, which is, I think, really underrated, is you need to be authentic. You know, when we spoke about having a personal brand mindset, we spoke about the fact that when you are going into networking spaces, you need to think about alignment, right? You're aligning with people. You're not just next to people because of their designation or how much money you think you can get from them. So being authentic forces you to connect with the right people who fit how you are as well, right? Because we're all about building long-term relationships. And the right people will like you for being exactly who you are instead of you being a different version of yourself. I want to end off this presentation with a quote by Ivan Meisner, who says, "Networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. It's about cultivating relationships." And I think that summarizes networking so well. Don't have a short-term mindset about it. Really think about it as a long game. How can I help other people? How can they help me? And how can we improve the world that we live in? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That is Lebo Lion talking about, relationship building, authenticity. That's very much important, and how we can effectively utilize our various social media platforms. And speaking of social media platforms, we do encourage you as our online viewers to engage with us, send those comments and questions through as we are about to go to our next segment, which is the Q&A session. We still have that 5 gigabyte data to be given away today. We are going to be giving that away to 5 lucky winners who will be interacting with us. And please do follow us, Metropolitan on Facebook, Metropolitan on LinkedIn. We are at Metropolitan ZA on X, and then Metropolitan_ZA on Instagram. Right, and as we're moving on to the next segment now, I would like to call upon all our speakers to come and join me up here at the front so that we can engage a bit and, answer some questions that have been sent through and are also going to be sent through still by our online viewers, and we'll also take questions from our guests right here in-house. So I will start with the lion herself. Levu, please do come through. Have a seat over here. You can sit right over here. I'll reserve this one for Pumla, and I would like to call upon Grant Jacobs to come through as well. Have a seat, my good sir. Thank you so much. And Craig Murrell will also be joining us together with Queen Malobane, and we also have a seat for Ntutugo Shezi, who will also be joining the panel with us. So this is where we are tackling questions based on what we have been sharing with all our viewers and all our audience that have joined us here today, in terms of how do we navigate this,
You're on stage, it's time for questions
complex
there.
maze of entrepreneurship. And we know that, the internet can misbehave from time to time, especially when we're streaming live for this masterclass or for sessions like these. So if you're following us on Facebook, we're streaming live on Facebook. That seems to be very much stable, so you can follow us there and follow the conversation there. And we also do encourage you guys to participate in this discussion, as it is all about everyone attending the masterclass. So our panelists are here. We are ready to engage and to, speak about how are we going to navigate this maze. And I have a seat for our host here. Maybe Pumla from Metropolitan can actually join me here as well. And I think I also actually have Ulindiwe to come through, just to give us, a Metropolitan perspective of things. And I actually have the first question I will direct to Pumla, but I just want her to get settled a bit, to Ulindiwe. I wanted to get settled a bit. And I think that will also kick us off as we are in the Q&A panel discussion. And one of the questions that came from one of our streaming participants was that, why is Metropolitan Collective Shapers focused on youth entrepreneurship?
Yeah, lovely question. As Metropolitan, we believe the youth are the future. If you look at the statistics in South Africa, they make for 60% of our population. And as we all know, youth unemployment is a real thing. Unfortunately, quarter by quarter, it continues to grow. And as Metropolitan, we want to be part of the solution by making sure that we grow our entrepreneurs so they can grow their business and help their families and help their communities. We believe if we actually make this change or part of this empowerment initiative, we are able to grow the economy as well as create jobs for our entrepreneurs. That's why it's so important for us. I mean, a business that operates in a market where people can't afford even insurance is dead in the water. And if we're able to ensure that people grow financially as well and realize their dreams, and they'll be able to support us as a company as well. So that's why it's super important. It's for the sustainability of our own business, but also for the sustainability of our communities.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Lindiwe. And I think it is, showing that the power of the collective as well in terms of when we say Sihamba Sonke as Metropolitan, we really mean that. And investing in our youth, it is definitely investing in the future. We'll also be taking the questions in-house. We have a roaming mic, and then we will be able to identify anyone who would like to pose a question to our fantastic panelists here. And the questions are coming thick and fast online. Thank you very much. We do encourage that. And I have a question for Grant. Actually, this came from one of our active online participants. And the question reads as follows. What kind of technology can be used in the agriculture space or the farming industry? This is directed to Grant.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I think really from a technology perspective, we see it really as one on-farm technology, which can actually help you farm better. Secondly, there is processing technology, which can help you process your actual products better to be able to extricate more value. And then finally, there's market access technology. Our focus is really on the market access side. Part of our feeling is that you first need to understand if you are in fact market ready, and by actually doing that, you need to be able to access information. Information is power. Understanding your products, prices, etc. Those are in fact the different elements. And unfortunately today, there's so many technology options available, especially to young farmers, to actually help them in their journey.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Grant. And I mean, you touched on market access, and that also, prompted a question for you, Mr. Shezi. There's a question here that says, in your journey, did you ever feel that though entrepreneurship wasn't working, you considered maybe going back to the corporate space, especially with that dress code?
Yeah, there have been times where it's been really hard, and I think we shouldn't romanticize entrepreneurship too much, guys. Entrepreneurship, you need a lot of mental strength. You need to really work on your ability to withstand bad news as much as possible, because it's rejection 10 times and only acceptance once. So I think that must be accepted, guys. That entrepreneurship is hard. But I think what you can do as an entrepreneur is work on yourself, work on your psychology, work on your positivity, work on your vision, who you want to be, where you want to be. With the vision being bigger than anything in the world, anything that you come across, whether it's racism, whether it's rejection here, whether it's that, will be like, it's almost like a Sunday picnic walk, because you are like higher there in terms of where you want to go.
No, thank you. And I like the emphasis that it's not a picnic. I mean, there's highs and lows, but you have to make sure that you're in it for the long haul. And Lebu Lion, there's one question for you here that just came through, especially, reflecting back to what you've shared with us a few moments ago. The question is, how important is social media or a digital marketing strategy for a business? Do I really need it?
Do you need to breathe? That's how important a social media strategy is for the modern business, right? I always say to my clients, if you're not online, you don't exist. Truly. Because the online space is a marketplace. I mean, it's growing so fast, and it's got so many players that they even want to make it its own economy. That's how much money and opportunities are moving around in that space every single day. And I think maybe where a lot of entrepreneurs have challenges is that they see social media as a tool for entertainment. They think it's for young people. They don't actually see that it's actually a business tool before it's any of those things. I always say to people, I've never worked in corporate. I built my entire career on social media. My entire career. The businesses I've had, literally, everything started on social media. Yeah. So it's one of the most powerful tools you can use. And it's cost effective. You just need a bit of data in your phone and you're good to go. Literally, I started my podcast that I've been monetizing for the past 6 years from my phone. I used to use my voice notes app and I put things together and I was getting paid in dollars from the second episode.
Hello.
So it's imperative.
Definitely true. I mean, speaking about the youth, I mean, even our grannies are taking over social media if TikTok is anything to go by. But I don't know if they are willing participants in most instances. And I see there's a question in-house here, and thanks to our friends from the media, I'll start with the lady over here. I'll just try to locate a roaming mic so that we are audible in that regard. Thank you so much, Queen. There we go. You can just introduce yourself and then shoot away with your question.
Good day, everyone. I'm Nontobego Gumete from Business Day TV. We work with quite a lot of entrepreneurs, big or small. And one thing that I've noticed, especially with startups, the challenge of, being assertive with potential clients. You have to build up reputation, show them that you can do the work, and sometimes people don't pay. So how can entrepreneurs mitigate that challenge without being like Kasha, trying to knock on people's doors to give them, to give them back your money?
All right, thank you so much. Anyone who's willing to tackle that question from our panelists?
I don't mind.
All right, Level.
I mean, I'd like to give a different perspective to this, right? I spoke about a personal branding mindset. I find that when you enter rooms and you have a reputation, people are less likely to play with you, right? You can have the challenges where people don't pay you on time, but they will definitely pay you because they understand that there's a reputational risk in not doing the right things with you. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs rush to get opportunities before they fully built their businesses in a way that allows them to navigate through spaces with a bit of power and, a bit of authority. So I really recommend to every single business owner, build your brand. Brand is big. Brand is powerful. You can go into rooms and get a lot of things done as a young person, as somebody who doesn't even have that much money, just because you have a reputation that supersedes you, So I'm only 33. I've been working for myself since I was 25. I ran a tech company before this, and I literally leverage brand to get people to take me seriously. So I think people need to start rethinking how they do business and take things like branding seriously, brand building and marketing. And I think those will help you get your money faster, get more respect, get clients who are actually serious about you because they understand your true value. And you're no longer just begging for things, but people are also coming to you and saying, we'd like to work with you. How do we do that?
Thank you for that, Level. And it's not only what you do, but I think how you do it as well.
Yes.
I'll just one question from the guests in-house here, as I'm also mindful of the time. Please do introduce yourself and ask your question.
Good morning. My name is Tabiso Mhlongo, your Tshwane Metropolitan Collective Shaper finalist. And it's more of a question and a compliment to Lebu. You were the reason I started to go to school and study marketing. And I did say to you on Instagram that it's a privilege to be in the same room with someone who's very inspirational in the corners of where I'm shaping my life to become. And the question is, because I follow the Level Lion Show on podcast on Spotify, but it's very vital for those who don't have Spotify or they want to know, you've touched based on personal branding. And as a young entrepreneur who's coming up, I'd like you to share that again to the audience who's listening on social media, how vital it is to become that person and how your branding as yourself can change your whole sphere of being a better person for you and your business. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. Quite humbled. And thank you for your DM. I remember your DM now. And I wasn't sure if you were in the room today. I mean, you've listened to my stuff, I'm sure, for years. Personal branding, to me, is the biggest game changer in terms of career development, building businesses. And a lot of people still undermine it because they want to do business the traditional way, right? But every time you have some kind of commercial value attached to your name, there's no way you can't get opportunities. There's no way you can't build a path for yourself. And a lot of the time when I speak about personal branding, people say, so does it mean you have to put on makeup and look nice and wear fancy clothes? Like, what is personal branding, right? And my definition, it's your commercial DNA. It's the parts of you that allow you to access opportunities. And what does that look like? It looks like showing your value to your prospective customers, clients, community, and allowing them to engage with it in a way that, there's no pressure. You're just showing them, this is what I have to offer, this is who I am, and I think this can help you in your life. And engage with people, start to form relationships. It took me a long time to start getting big checks. I kept getting lots of small checks, but in the process, I was building relationships with people. They were like, this person continuously shares valuable information with us. Our businesses are changing. We would be paying thousands for consultants, and she's giving this stuff away for free. Some people don't want to give things away for free. They want to hold on to it, and then they try to sell the business, but nobody actually knows what your business is about, what it stands for. And I think personal branding allows you to do that. It allows you to give people a sneak peek of what they can expect from you professionally or from your business. So it's important to build yourself and change your mindset about, I'm not just a human being, I'm a commercial entity. How do I exist in spaces? How do I unlock opportunities for myself in the way that I behave, in the way that I speak, in the things that I'm interested in the people that I engage with? And that's what personal branding does for you. It changes your mindset, and you start to go, I can actually make money being myself. I can actually make money. Anything I touch should be able to make money if it has my name on it or my vetting on it. And if more entrepreneurs leveraged on that, I think they would win. And when I started, I used to do videos in my gym clothes. Like, I wasn't glamorous with the hair and everything. That's not what it's about. It's just about forming relationships. It's probably the most organic type of networking you can do. And the greatest thing about this is everybody who actually believes in you starts to become an evangelist. They spread the word about what you do. They get you your clients. I don't pitch anymore. I seldom pitch for things. People usually come to me. All I have to do is tell my community what I'm doing, and the right people start to come. So personal branding is powerful, and I think it's important for every one of us to be doing it.
Well, thank you so much, Lebo, for those nuggets. And I know we are pressed for time, and we do appreciate all the questions. We will be forwarding all the questions that we have received online to all our panelists. I saw a couple of questions for Queen about the two-pot system. I saw questions for Craig. I saw questions also for Grant, plenty more innovative questions. And without any further ado, we did promise a 10 o'clock till 12 o'clock. And now we have reached a point where we will be welcoming Phumla Mavunda to come and give us our vote of thanks and share a bit of information with regards to the competition. Let's give a warm Metropolitan welcome to Phumla as she comes through for the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. My job is probably the easiest because I will be announcing the winners, but before we do the fun stuff, we need to get the serious stuff out of the way. So first of all, I would like to open up by thanking God for allowing us to be here today. We all know that when we leave our homes, we are never guaranteed to make it to our destination. So thank you, God, for letting us be here as part of this event. I want to send a big thank you to the technical team that has been supporting us today. You are doing the Lord's work today. Those that are online may have seen that there were some technical glitches. In fact, I think the technical team needs to host a masterclass on how to keep the lights on for those who are keeping the lights on. I want to thank our media partners. A special shout out to our media partners for continuing to date our Metropolitan family. I'd like to make special mention to the Daily Sun, Citizen Newspaper, Pumakapa TV, Urban Soweto, IT Online, Farmers Weekly, CNBC Africa, Channel Africa, and Business Day TV. Thank you so much for being part of this event. A big thank you to our online guests. Thank you for participating. And we do note all the questions that came through, and we thank you also for your patience. Thank you to the organizing team. You've done a phenomenal job today. None of this would be possible without you. And then I'd like to thank you, Lindiwe, our Chief Marketing Officer, who's not only leading the Metropolitan brand, but is also leading the Metropolitan marketing team spread between Gauteng and Cape Town, a team that's made up of a collective of vibrant, smart people who are really passionate about carrying this collective Shapers property and making sure that it reaches South African youth. so that they can create youth employment. Dutugo, we thank you for being part of our program. Always an interesting conversation with you. Just demonstrating also to the youth that where you're born from, whether it's Indwede, Soweto, or Mlazi, where you were born is not a definition of where you're going to end up. And that's, it's so important to legally break and enter. That's the only crime that we are looking to promote, legally breaking and entering the market. And also ensuring that when you do open the doors and the windows, that you actually leave them open for others so that more people and your collective can come along. To Grant, thank you so much for the nuggets that you shared. I think it's quite important that you spoke about trusting yourself, trusting the insights, and also the wisdom of knowing that you don't know everything, that you actually need to do your research and not make assumptions. Queen, we love you, our queen of financials at Metropolitan. What you touched on was so critical. The fact that as an entrepreneur, you're a key man, and therefore you need an advisor to create a roadmap that is going to help you to protect everything that you're building. And long after you're gone, that your legacy will continue and serve not only yourself, Nabantu Bako, but also your community. Thank you for that. Craig, always a pleasure having you around. You're a friend to Metropolitan, like all of our speakers. What I took out from what Craig spoke about is the importance of having a track record and creating a track record. And the fact that failure is actually a good track record. It shows that you started something, and there are lessons to be learned. So failing is actually a good track record. It demonstrates that you're not just an idea, that you can actually implement things and get things done. Lebo Lion, roaring for the audiences and everybody in here. Sorry, Natia, I had to try and bring that in there. Thank you so much for reminding us the importance of authenticity. It's very important to be authentic. Those that will gravitate towards you will support you, and they will stay with you for the long haul. It's an important part of building long-term relationships. And then also for sharing the importance of collaborating. Not always looking for somebody to give you something, but sometimes you have to give in order to receive, and create common value and common purpose and alignment of goals. Kosinati Mahlangu, our esteemed SMC, and our CSI business partner in our parent company, Momentum Group. That's what we're called now. We're part of the Momentum Group. Thank you so much for being amazing and keeping us all entertained throughout this event. And then, now I come to the fun part and announcing the winners. Thank you so much, everybody that is online. The prize that we are giving away is 5 gigs of data to everybody that will be announced here. So we've got people who were on Facebook. Studuzo Shandu, you are a winner. We will be in contact with you. Pana Songubane, you're also one of our winners on Facebook. For those that are streaming online, you also were not forgotten. Shumela and Xoliswa, and then Spelele Nzimande. You are all getting 5 gigs of data. We will contact you and give you the details of how you get that. Thank you very much, and once again, over to you.
Thank you so much, Pumla, and thanks to all our panelists. Thanks to everyone who have gathered here with us today as we talk Metropolitan Collective Shapers Masterclass. My name is Gosnati Mahlangu, and it's been an ideal pleasure and a privilege for me to be collecting and shaping with you. Thank you and goodbye.